Hi, I'm Nikki, the Obsessive Bookseller. Welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to review In the Shadow of Lightning by Brian McClellan. It's a new book out from Tor, and it's book 1 in the Immortals series. This has to be one of the strangest books I've read in a while. It definitely required a just go with it attitude, and truth be told, had I not already read and loved the two Powder Mage trilogies by Brian McClellan, I don't know if I would have been as forgiving or been willing to give him the benefit of the doubt while going through this book. Because there were a lot of weird, bizarre components that normally don't work for me, but somehow he managed to weave them in and do it almost seamlessly. My favorite thing about the book was the magic system. This god glass that originated from lightning striking a very particular sort of sand has magical properties, and the way that it is forged can bring out different properties that can enhance abilities of the users. I love it when authors get a little detailed with the magic system, showing the processes on how things are made, and showing people who are really exceptional at what they do, like creating. It is so cool. So that was definitely a win, and I especially loved seeing how they used the magic to engage in hand-to-hand combat and how that enhanced the fights. So easily my favorite aspect of the book. One thing that fell a little flat for me was the overall mystery of the book. At first I kind of gave it the benefit of the doubt, but the further it went along, the more I thought, nope, this isn't as good as I was hoping it would be. It reminded me a lot of those old Nancy Drew Hardy Boys mashups, those combination books that were always a lot more robust than the standalone Nancy Drew or Hardy Boys. But even though they were a lot of fun and you really enjoyed the massive adventure of it, you could still see the formula of the mystery, and things were laid out in really neat, organized breadcrumb trails for the characters to find. So in that regard, it lacked a lot of the twists and turns that I was hoping for. Everything was pretty straightforward. Now granted, I'm not a huge mystery reader, but I've read quite a few fantasy novels that incorporated mystery a lot more seamlessly and a lot less predictably. But even though that fell flat, all of the other components were strong enough to keep the story going. I especially loved all the characters. There were multiple POVs, and each one contributed towards the overall satisfaction of the story, in my opinion. Each had a really good perspective and angle on what was going on. And I liked the variety. There was a heavily military aspected profile. There was the master glassmith one, the investigator, and then of course the main character, all of which I thought were a lot of fun to read about, and I enjoyed them immensely. And in fact, what I love about McClellan initially, one of the reasons he's one of my top favorite authors, is how well in especially the second Powder Mage trilogy, he was able to form deep, meaningful connections between his characters. They were so rich, and in my opinion, one of the best examples of good character work done in any series. And that's why he's one of my favorites. I did not see a lot of that really detailed, deep character work in this particular installment, like little hints and peeks of it here and there, so I'm hoping that's what we get more of in the future books. And I'm definitely planning on continuing, because, no spoilers, but he dropped a bomb in the epilogue that had me going, what the heck did I just read? Oh my gosh, I must find out more. I cannot wait for the next one. So overall, while I think this is unique enough and fun enough to drag anybody out of a reading rut, I also think it didn't resonate with me quite as much as his Powder Mage stuff did. And I don't know that I'd be quite as willing to go with all the weirdness if it hadn't come from an author that has already established a lot of trust with me. So if this is your first McClellan, go in with a little asterisk of, if I don't like this, maybe I should try Powder Mage, because they are completely different. I'm coming in at a 4 out of 5 stars. It is a strong installment, really unique, and I think a lot of people are really going to like it. Hey, let's talk about other books you might like. Promise of Blood, also by Brian McClellan. Now, this is not one of those situations where I say you've got to read his original stuff before you dive into this one, but it is a case of, I think these are superior so far, and if you like a lot of things about that other series but want something a little more satisfying and robust, this fits the bill. Now that being said, only one has been published in the Immortals series, and I have the benefit of having read everything in the Powder Mage world and loving it. So yeah, take it with a grain of salt. But don't discount this one if you don't like that one. Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett. If you like the magic aspect and an urban setting as kind of a stage for these massive battles, I think you'll like this series as well. This one is slightly cheekier, but just as fun and just as bizarre, actually. So these are pretty good crossovers, in my opinion. If your favorite thing about In the Shadow of Lightning was how weird it was, I recommend The Kingdom of Liars by Nick Martell. This one was a little too bizarre and a little too disjointed for me, so I didn't rate it quite as positively, but I've seen a ton of really good reviews. So if you can just go with the flow of this one, then I think you'll have a really fun time with it. Even though the world building is completely different, the atmospheres are kind of the same. And you'll be going through the whole time going, where am I? How did I get here? This is weird. Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I'm recommending this one for a similar feel in the camaraderie and the cast of characters, and I think the overall mood that the authors were going for were very similar. I think if you are okay with Sanderson's more lighthearted, fun writing style, then the way McClellan presents his story in the Shadow of Lightning will work for you. And finally, the Eli Mon Press series by Rachel Aaron. I've been recommending this one a lot on my channel. It's one of my all-time favorites, and when I was sitting down trying to figure out which books to recommend, I was trying to find books with bizarre magic systems, fun settings, fun characters, where there's like percolation of something really sinister that doesn't really get explored in the first book, but grows into something really cool. And I feel like that's where Glass Immortals is going. But I think if you don't mind it being a little cheekier, this one will really work for you. So there you have it. Thank you so much for joining me on this review, and I hope to catch you next time. Bye.